She is scared to death.
Oh, let her call me. I'll call her. Give me your number. I'll call her. There's nothing to be scared about.
Well, she saw me go through that. The worst part is.
But you didn't have that hard time, did you? See, you're fine now.
I'm fine now, but I had about 6 months recovery.
Yeah, well, yeah, it took me about 6 months.
Oh, somebody needs to introduce Mike so he knows that he's
Mike on the mic. Hey, Mike on the mic.
It's me.
They say you're on the mic. You're a mic on the mic. Go ahead and get us started. Okay.
Good morning, everyone. I want to thank you for joining us in this spirit of perfect harmony. We are the Center for Spiritual Living West Georgia. We study and practice the philosophy and science of the mind we know as God. And with our spiritual presence and participation in our service here this morning, we create a higher state of consciousness, rise above all of the negative energy we may have experienced this past week, and manifest love. We know love is synonymous to God. Our master teacher, Reverend Dr. Sandra Jackson, will now proceed with our service. Reverend?
Okay. Good morning, good morning, good morning. And Kay and Ursula, welcome to those are the two I saw, and everybody else, ZZ, Barb, everybody who's there, out there, somewhere in the universe. Welcome. And those of you who are here in-house, welcome to you too. So glad to have you here today. And we want to begin as we always do, by turning within, recognizing, realizing, and knowing that right here, right now, right where we are, wherever we are in the universe, because we are in our right place. Sometimes we don't feel that we are, but in this very moment, right here, right now, know that you are in your right place at the right time, being the right person, and that you are an expression of the divine love that Mike talked about in his opening. In this very moment, there is absolutely nothing else that you have to concern yourself with. For you have the breath of God moving in you, through you, and as you. And that is sufficiency, and it is enough. So we just simply allow ourselves to sink into this moment, to feel the blessing of it, the grace in this moment. And we relax into it, knowing that all is well, that we are in the right place at the right time, with the right people, with the right purpose, that all things are in divine right order. And so we are blessed, and we feel that blessing in this moment. And so it is within this blessing, knowing that who we are is Spirit itself, that we begin the service today, that we come together today to celebrate, to recognize, to realize, and to remember who we are and what we are about. And so we graciously open ourselves today, knowing that it is done and all is well. And so it is. So if you stand and say with me our vision and mission statement, it's in the program or up there. CSL West Georgia is a joyful global community where everyone belongs. Through our unique spiritual teachings, we provide a safe environment to experience compassionate living. In our Declaration of Principles, I believe in God, the living Spirit Almighty, one, indestructible, absolute, and self-existent cause. This one manifests itself in and through all creation, but is not absorbed by its creation. The manifest universe is the body of God.
All right, everybody.
It is the logical and necessary outcome of the infinite self-knowingness of God. Maybe I had the wrong one again. I would love to shake the world. Love, love, love everybody. Love, love, love. When it's hard to love, love, our love and we'll change the world. Share love, love everybody. Love, love, love. When it's hard to love, love, our loving will change the world. Share, share, share who you are, and share, share, share. When it's hard to share, share, our sharing will change the world. Sing, sing, sing all together. Sing, sing, sing. When it's hard to sing, sing. Our singing will change the world. Let's try care. Care, care, care for each other. Care, care, care. When it's hard to care, care. Our caring will change the world. Find me here, singing with you. Heart wide open for what we came to do. Wind in the trees, sing some melody true. Love everybody, let the love shine through. Everybody sing love, love, love. Everybody, love, love, love. When it's hard to love, love, our loving will change the world. Our loving will change the world. Our sharing will change the world. Our singing will change the world. Our caring will change the world. Our loving will change the world. All right. Woo. Thank you. Good morning, everyone. Sorry. Oh, wait, that's house. Okay. Good morning. The reading today, for August 28th, is from the book Earth Band's Living System and Evolution, and the author is Lisbeth Sahtouris. The philosopher Alan Watts suggested the universe might be a great game of hide and seek played by God, who was everything and so hard to play the game alone, hiding in the rocks and trees and even people, waiting for them to discover who they were. We might also see the universe as a vast learning experience with ourselves currently in its leading edge, trying to figure out how it all works by looking back on it through our unique kind of consciousness. As we evolve and learn, so do our stories change, whether they are religious, scientific, or other. It is as though cosmic consciousness keeps trying out new possibilities through biological and social evolution. When we compare the brains of many species, we can see quite clearly
the parallel evolution of ever more complex brains with ever more complex behaviors. Species, consciousness, communication, and freedom of choice in behavior seems to have evolved gradually, becoming most complex in the relatively bigger brained species. In our own species, and perhaps earlier in cetaceans, there has been an unusual explosion of these talents. Like humans, dolphins seem to have ideas, ethics, complex language, and personal names. While scientists have not succeeded in finding a language bridge between humans and dolphins, there is an increasingly large literature on telepathic communications between people and cetaceans, including reputable experiments and evidence of dolphins healing people. Indigenous people share an understanding of nature as a vast and continuing dialogue among all parts and species of Earth, as one great family, with humans as the youngest member with the most to learn. Many of them consciously participate in this natural dialogue as co-creators, but a branch of humanity that chose to cut itself off from this dialogue now dominates the Earth. Enamored of our big, flexible brains, we of Western culture have in our minds, if not in physical reality, disconnected ourselves from the community of life. We study it as though it was separate and work to control it for our own purpose. No other species has been in a position to do this, for none is so free to choose its behavior and thoughts at every turn. None is no clever in inventing and producing technology, so powerful in its ability to kill or protect other species, to destroy or preserve whole ecosystems worldwide, or to pretend it is separate from the rest. Truly, we are Gaian, a universal experiment in freedom, and a risky one at that. And so it is.
Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you, Miss Lily. All right. Connie and I have a song for you this morning by J.D. Martin and Jan Garrett. It's called Everything to Do with Love.
Dream, a vision. I woke up singing in the middle of the night, 'cause the world had finally got it right. It's got nothing to do with history, or which night was one. It's got everything to do with love. When you hear a voice calling somewhere inside you, saying you're not alone, and the music fills your heart with hope. It's got nothing to do with boundaries, or thinking that you gotta be tough. It's got everything to do with love. It's got everything to do with love. With our differences behind us, the world looks new. Maybe something as simple
His kindness can see us through. I hope so. Well, it takes as long as it takes, and we know it. When the moment is right, I'll hear somebody singing in the morning light. There is so much hope to hold on to, yeah, and so many songs to be sung. You know it's got everything, oh yeah, everything to do with love. Yeah, it's got everything to do with love.
Ready to sing it?
Yes. I had a dream, and it was a vision, and I woke up singing. Yes, I did. In the middle of the night. Why? 'Cause the world had finally got it right. Yeah. Wouldn't that be nice? Wouldn't that be nice? Yes, yes, yes. There is so much hope to hold on to, and so many songs to be sung. It's got everything to do with love. Yes, it does. It's got everything to do with love. Right.
Yeah. Ain't that the truth?
I wish I would wake up in the middle of the night because the world had finally got it right. Don't you?
Yes, and it's so nice when you sing about truth. It's everything that it does. Everything it does have to do with love. Yes, it does. Yes, it does. Just think about all the things we say. We love this and we love that. Okay? We love our cars.
I do love my car.
Stuff like that. Yes, yes, yes. We say stuff like that, don't we? Well, today is the last Sunday of August. And Sandy is not here because it's her birthday. And it's my mother's birthday too. Yeah, my she's passed away now, but she was born August 28th. And I say that because there are some people out there who knew my mother. And I know Zizi is one of them. And so just want to acknowledge that for both of them today. So today's talk is on Naturally Divine. It's the fourth and last Sunday. We're talking about nature, the wonder of nature. And every month, we've done the wonder of something else. And this month is the wonder of nature. And we're talking about being naturally divine. Isn't that nice? That's a nice topic, actually. Okay, so if I said to you, change your thinking, change your life. We've heard that before, right? I mean, it's said all the time. People say it all the time. Change your thinking, change your life. And I think I can't remember his name, Brian, somebody, he wrote a book called Change Your Thinking, Change Your Life. Of course, he took that from us, right? Okay. Because Science of Mind is where they heard that stuff first. I'm pretty sure. Ernest Holmes used to talk about that all the time, way back when. So we've all heard that, but change your thinking to what? Did you ever think about that? It says change your thinking, change your life. And it just kind of rolls off your tongue, doesn't it? I mean, and you think you understand what it means, okay? But change your thinking to what? Because it depends on what you change your thinking to that makes the change that becomes your life, okay? So stop and think about that. If I asked you to change your thinking, change your life, what would you answer? You might answer, why? Why should I change my thinking? I like my life the way it is. I'm quite satisfied. Or you might say, how do I change my thinking? I've had people ask that. And then you might question yourself, well, what do I want my life to change into? Because all of those answers, And you could come up with more. Those are just the three I thought of this morning. But here's the thing. What do you want your life to change into? Okay, stop and think. All right, so I watched this movie. I don't know if you haven't seen it yet. It's on Prime. Amazon Prime has a league of its own, a league of their own. Do you remember the movie several years ago? Okay. Yes, this is very different. Okay. The League of Your Own was, I'm going to call it an encapsulated story. Okay. It was about women who during World War II were formed into baseball leagues because the men were out fighting the war. And so, the moneyed people, the people who, the owners of the teams and whatever, came up with this idea that, they would have women play baseball. And there were lots of women, apparently, who loved playing baseball because they managed to get their own league. And it was only women played in it. And of course, they had to wear dresses. Can you imagine playing baseball in dresses? But this is the 40s, right? This is during the war. And thinking about women was much different in those days, okay? But the movie, which was several years ago, told about the peaches and everything. The Prime movie is telling about three things. Oh, by the way, those women eventually were given spots in the Baseball Hall of Fame. I don't know if you know, but they have a whole thing there. Anyway, the Prime movie has sexism because it's talking about the women, and then it has racism because it's telling the story of how Black women also wanted to play, and it's telling the story of homophobia, which is not really what they're doing is showing you that there are lesbians in the group. They're not saying anything. They're hidden. So that's why I'm saying homophobia. So the thinking at that time, okay, was Black women couldn't play baseball, even if they're good. They couldn't play baseball with white women. And I've only watched 2 episodes, by the way. There are 8, so I'm telling you about the 2. And they were sexist in that they were like, well, will anybody come to the games that women are playing? Then they had to wear dresses. They couldn't wear pants. And yet the women are going like, we can play better in pants, okay? And nope, because they have to, and then they have all these rules about women and what they can do and what they cannot do. They can't embarrass people. And if they embarrass them, it's because they have these rules that they have to follow for women, right? So all of that is reflective of the thinking of the times. We look at that and go like, excuse me? Okay, I mean, how many of us have pants on today? All right, I mean, we wear pants, we don't even think about, should I, what impression am I going to make as a woman if I'm wearing pants, right? We just put them on and keep on going, right? We would never think of playing baseball in a dress. It just wouldn't happen. So there are things that, and the other thing is that I don't think we have women baseball leagues yet, but we have softball leagues. Women play in softball leagues. Women play soccer. And in fact, now they fought their way to not only getting, playing soccer, but to get paid appropriately, because why? They're doing better than the men are doing, right? So a lot of things have changed in the process from those times to this time. The thinking changed, and therefore the life changed. But what we saw, if you were just looking from the outside, you would see, oh, Jackie Robinson broke the color barrier, okay? And he started, they started letting Black men play in the baseball leagues. The women in these days broke the whatever barriers that said, women can't play baseball, but behind those actions were thoughts. Branch Rickey got the idea, these black guys play pretty good. I think some of them should be playing for us. And he went to Jackie Robinson, and that's a whole story I don't want to get into. But, the thing is that somebody had an idea. And what is an idea? It's a thought. So that's the thing is that thoughts change and then life changes. And so if we're looking at our lives, we may say, is it the way I want? If it's not, the reason it's not the way we want it is because of what we have been thinking, right? So right now, we have a lot of new thoughts going on. And many of them are coming from various spiritual teachings, and also they're coming from science. So let's just talk for a minute about the spiritual teachers. I started studying the science of mind in 1974, almost 50 years ago. Almost 50 years ago. Wow, it just went by. It just went by, just like that, right? Okay, so I started in 1974. In those days, there were no spiritual teachers outside. You had to go looking for them. Okay, Paramahansa Yogananda had written Autobiography of Yogi. That was around, you could read that. There was the Self-Realization Foundation, which was his organization. And they had a place, because I was in California, they had a place in Palo Alto that you could go to learn meditation. They had a big garden in Southern California that they did. But, there were little, ashrams around here and there. Mostly Hindu based, but you had to go looking for that stuff. It wasn't like out in the public. You could probably Google spiritual teachers and come up with a whole list of them now, but not in those days. In those days, there was new thought, and then shortly after was new age, and people used to get new age and new thought confused. If you've been around a while, you realize this. It's like new thought and new age, people couldn't tell the difference, but new age had a lot of crystals and chakras and stuff like that. And now all of this kind of stuff is blended together. You never saw change your thinking, change your life. It was all about the crystals or the chakras. And then there was Chinese medicine and acupuncture. And now in those days, a chiropractor, who goes to chiropractor? You almost had to go, shh, don't tell anybody. Now, there's a chiropractor almost on every block. Now they even have joint chiropractors. There's a corporation of chiropractors, right? So thinking has changed, right? But what we do is we look at the outside and we don't realize that somebody had an idea, somebody had a thought, something happened before the manifestation of that, okay? And so the thing is that right now we're having a lot of, I realize that was a rather technical reading that I asked Lily to do today. But, the whole thing is that was about the changes in biology, okay? It's like everything is divine, but we don't tend to think of it as divine. We have a tendency to think, oh, look at those dolphins. They can actually talk to each other, okay? And we look at them and we go, oh, isn't that cute? And then we put them in some aquarium somewhere so people can go and look at them, or sometimes we go out on boats and watch them in their natural habitat. But the thing is that we don't think about them as being expressions of God, Julie. We're looking at, we go, oh, look at those dolphins. We don't go like, oh, look at that, God's jumping as a dolphin. I mean, we don't do that, right? I mean, come on, be with me, okay? We don't do that. We just look and say, those are dolphins. We're human. Those are dolphins. Those are whales. Those are elephants. Those are lions. And there's a separation between what they are and what we are. And so naturally divine is asking a question, well, are they divine as well? I mean, in our minds, we say yes, but the way we act, there's a level of thinking where there's a level of separation between them and us. So right now, we're kind of living in a lot of turbulence because I think there's all these various things, like what I was saying in terms of chiropractic, holistic medicine, and energy. Who ever heard of energy medicine in the 80s? Now in the 90s and the 2000s, the energy, you drive down the street and people have signs say energy medicine. And you go like, what's that anyway? I'm not going to tell you right now. Go discover it for yourself. But you know, it's like there's this explosion. There's spiritual teachers, you know, people have a spiritual experience and something opens in their mind. And next thing you know, they're writing books and calling themselves a spiritual teacher. And people are going and listening to them and talking to them. All right. There's all kinds of spiritual organizations, and there's, you know, the whole scientific community that now is starting to see that there is connection between spirituality and science. So all of this stuff is going on. Can you imagine how scared some people are? Just think about it, because they've totally lost control over what's easy and what's simple. It's not simple anymore. It's really, really not simple anymore. But you know, it's really interesting. Elizabeth Sartoris in her book, it's called Earth Dance, with the one that Lily read from today. She tells a story about two indigenous cultures, because you know, indigenous culture is much more simplified, right? They're much more straightforward. So she tells the story of two indigenous cultures, the Hopi Indians of North America, which of us, they're the Southwest, and the Koji of South America, which are in Colombia. Most of us probably haven't heard of. At any rate, this is the prophecy that the Hopis told. Okay, they learned years ago. Okay, and it says one day. Well, first of all, let me say this. Part of this prophecy, the Hopi prophecy, tells the story of the red and white brothers, sons of the Earth Mother and the Great Spirit, who gave them different missions. Now, who's the Earth Mother, Earth, and the Great Spirit, God, okay? They call it Great Spirit as opposed to God, who gave them different missions. The red brother was to stay at home and keep the land in sacred trust, while the white brother went abroad to record things and make inventions. So now listen to this very carefully. One day, the white brother was to return and reshare his inventions in a spirit of respect for the wisdom of his red brother, for the wisdom his red brother had gained. It was told that his inventions, listen to this, would include cobwebs through which people could speak to each other from house to house across mountains, even with all doors and windows closed. That is the internet. I'll read it again. His invention would include cobwebs, because what they wouldn't know the internet, right? But they would have known cobwebs, okay? Include cobwebs through which people could speak to each other from house to house and across mountains, even with all doors and windows closed. Next, there would be carriages crossing the sky on invisible roads, and eventually, go back to that one before we eventually go further. There would be carriages, airplanes, because they wouldn't know, they would call carriages, right? Across the sky, and we see, they're invisible to us. We don't see them, right? Okay, invisible roads, and eventually a gourd of ashes that when dropped, would scorch the earth, burning everything, even the fishes in the sea. Atom bomb. Think about that. If the white brother's ego grew so large in making these inventions that he would not listen to the wisdom of the red brother, he would bring the world to an end in the great purification of nature. Only a few would survive to bring forth the next world in which there would again be abundance and harmony. Think about that. Now, the Koji of Colombia had a similar story, but a little bit different. According to the Koji, the Great Mother Aluna is the primary waters and the source of all creation. Even before creating the world, she lived through all possibilities for all worlds and all times through which great mental anguish. For this, she is known as memory and possibility. The 8 worlds she created previous to this one were not peopled, but in this 9th world, she put humans, including elder and younger brothers. From the beginning, younger brother caused so much trouble that eventually he was given knowledge and technology and sent far away from the waters. 500 years ago, the Koji say, he found his way back across the waters, and he has been causing trouble again ever since. If he does not listen to the Koji, who see themselves as the elder brother, and stop destroying the mother, stop digging out her heart with his mining and cutting up her liver with his deforestation, he will bring his world to an end. And so she says, from the Hopi and the Koji perspectives, we see that the white or younger brother of their ancient stories dominates present human existence. He is an industrial man, as we have seen him in earlier chapters of the book, creating a technological society founded on a mechanical worldview and scientific discovery. And we have seen his technological way of life, for all its benefits, has brought us to the brink of disaster. So here's the thing. That has been the thinking in the past. But what has been happening? We have all these spiritual teachings that have been coming. And here's the thing. They have been here for centuries, but they haven't bubbled up to the popular. Why? Because when they were brought up into the light and they published books and whatever, guess what happened? The powers that be, the more powerful religious people, they burned them at the stake, they tortured them, they burned their books, they got rid of their materials, and they forced them into monasteries. But the truth is always going to what? Bubble up. It may take centuries, but it's bubbling up. And that's what's happening now. You have people who are having all kinds of spiritual experiences. Even when they don't become great teachers, they just change their own lives. Their thinking has changed. And so we have all these clashes right now of those people who have been looking at the world from a physical point of view, not realizing that there's some thinking behind it, that there are ideas behind it. So you've got all this stuff going on, and people are looking at the world and going like, oh, look at this, and look at this, and look at this. We can make this, and we can make that. We can make iPhones, and we can make cell phones, and we can make, bigger planes, and we can do all this stuff without realizing that behind all of this, there's this spirituality that is also coming, to the surface. So there's this, she's new to me, a spiritual teacher. Marcia, now we can start on and so she's been teaching some stuff that I think is, because in the John Walker's new book, God in the 21st Century, okay, he's telling us that we have to start thinking differently about God as well, okay? And so she says, next one, she says that God, we want to reinterpret God, okay? And so God is the grand omnipresent designer, G-O-D, grand omnipresent designer. Isn't that great? I love that, okay? Because we talked about omnipresence last week, okay? So God is the grand omnipresent designer. And she says God is not only the mastermind of existence, but also the ever-present and ever-unfolding expression of all that exists. Think about that. That God, what we have been thinking of God is from this perspective of God's outside, right? and designed the earth and the everything that created all of this. Okay, but and so we got it that he's grand and designer. Okay, it's the omnipresent that makes a difference. Okay, meaning God did not design the world and then left it to us to destroy or do whatever it is we wanted to do. And God, these indigenous ideas, they came from somewhere. Okay, they came from somewhere, and all traditions, all indigenous traditions have some kind of story or philosophy or perspective about what is happening in their world. Okay, from their perspective. And she's saying, we have got to start looking at God differently. God is not that outside things. And the thing is, as long as we keep thinking of God as being something outside that is somehow, God help me, that is outside of us and not within us, then what we're doing is being spiritually immature. That's what children do. Santa Claus. God likes Santa Claus, right? All right, so next one. So then she says, he is both the architect and the architecture. God is every human being, every living creature, every blade of grass, and every grain of dust. And I thought it's so interesting because in one of the earlier paragraphs, she talks about how God is neither he nor she. And yet, look at how our language still is pervasive. She put he in there. She didn't have it like that. I did, because I wanted us to notice that even when we are being, when we're trying to change our thinking to the point of understanding God is the very essence of everything, that we still have this outside image of God as he, that it is just part of our DNA almost. And so we have to do what? We have to consciously think. And so that's why when if you notice my writing, a lot of times instead of saying God, I'll say it, wherever, the he is, and Ernest Holmes used to do it, also. And so, I guess I picked it up from him, but it takes it out of the he or she or whatever. Okay. So God is every human being, every living creature, every bird of grass, and every grain of dust. Every means there's no exceptions. There's not a blade of grass that God is not already infused in. Next one. And then she goes on to say, God is every galaxy, every star, every supernova, every black hole, and every atom. Imagine. I mean, we go out to outer space, we got new space programs going on right now, right? And they're going to the moon or wherever, Mars, wherever out in space you're going. And they're looking at it from a materialistic, technological point of view. What if we were to change our thinking to say we are using our opportunity as a spaceship to explore the creations that God has made out there in the universe, that we have explored it, the expression of God in the sea, and we have explored it on land, and now we are exploring the expression of God, the creation. What has God created out there? But we don't, right? No, we got it backwards. We study things from the outside, and that's the difference. That's what's happening with science, is they studied outside for so long, they're just gone deeper, 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 until they've gotten to the point where they realize all is what? Energy. Okay, and what is energy? Is God expressing. Okay, the next one. There is no thing that God is not. And we say that in Science of Mind all the time. Okay, she says a little different. There is no thing that is not God. And we say there is no thing that God is not. It's similar. And then she says, God is life and the process of life itself. So she uses the word process there. And so I looked up the definition. It's too complicated. But one of the synonyms is activity. And the activity, so God is life and the activity of life itself. So as you are going through your actions, you are expressing God and you are being that expression of God in the world as you. So when Connie and what's your name anyway? Cynthia sing. When they sing, then what they're doing is that is God singing as them. Lily is God reading as Lily. God is speaking as me. God is sitting over there as Ronnie, okay? Or as is anybody else in here. So I beg your pardon, but names when I'm talking, name something, go away. But I know who you are, okay? I know who you are too. So, but the thing is what if we were to start thinking in terms of, I am God expressing as Sandra. Think of it that way. I mean, you would use your name, obviously. Ken would say, God expressing as Ken. Marsha would say, God expression is Marsha. How would that change your life in terms of the way you think about yourself? What would that do to your friendships and relationships? What would that do to your health? What would that do to your finances? What would that do to your creativity? What would that do to how you thought about yourself, loved yourself, and be in the world? If you thought of yourself as this is God expressing as, and remember, it's the truth because God is omnipresent designer. And so you are expressing individually the design of your life. And so you change your thinking and you change your life because you are designing your life. Each one of us is designing our life every day. But we don't think about it that way, do we? Okay, the next one. Recognize that every experience is a calling from God. Now, that is hard because life is suffering, isn't it? People die in car crashes or illnesses. We have problems in our family. We have problems in our lives. We have suffering. I'm reading a book, Thich Han's book now, Mud and Lotuses, and it's all about suffering and how to deal with suffering. And one of the things he says is that suffering and happiness are two sides of the same coin. He doesn't use the words just like that, but that's the idea. That you cannot have that embedded in suffering is happiness, and embedded in happiness is suffering. And you can't have one without the other. Why? Because you don't know happiness unless you have known suffering. And you don't know suffering unless you have known happiness. Because we live in a world where we have duality. And that's the duality, the suffering and the happiness. But what happens if we're thinking in terms of God expressing as me? Then we're designing our lives in such a way that the suffering, you recognize it's an experience that I'm going through right now. It's not lasting, it's transitory, it's impermanent, and there's happiness embedded in here, and I am going to find it. It may not be today, but it is there. Next one. She says, God and life are not separate. We teach that in the science of mind. They're not separate. But we have not always seen them because we don't always look at everything as being naturally divine. We look at it as being separate from ourselves. But just stop and think. The dolphin is being God, expressing God as a dolphin. Our dogs are expressing God as the dog, right? And that's why everybody jokes and says, dog is God spelled backward. Well, guess what? There's a truth to that. Okay. And then the next one, God is the process of life itself. And that's why I said I changed that to activity, because it's the motion of it. It's the living of it. It's that, we meditate, and we meditate why? To be still, to be quiet, to allow the still small voice within us, because that's when we hear God the best and the most, when we're quiet in the still of the night, in the darkness sometimes. Okay, but in the darkness is that creative place. Some of us are afraid of the dark because the monsters came out when we were children. Well, guess what? If our parents were yelling and screaming and having a fight in the next room and we were sleeping, they would come out as monsters. But there are no monsters. The monsters are all in our mind, right? So the truth is that God is the life itself, and life is what? Good. Okay, life is good. And the next one is to remember God is all there is. All there is God. There is nothing else. And so we look at people and we see and we think, I don't like them, or they're not nice, or whatever. Well, guess what? If God is all there is, they too are expressing God in a limited manner. And there's a truth about that for all of us. We are all expressing God in a limited manner. We are not expressing God at the very highest and best level we can. There's always more that we can express, but we have to change our thinking in order to make that change. I don't care where we are in our life. If we are still breathing, God as us is seeking to express something greater. Why? Because God is not out of the world. God is here. It is alive. It is energy. And it is the great designer, and is designing our lives. And what does designers do? They create. And so therefore, God is the great creator in our lives. And if we will change our thinking to the realization that God as me is creating my life, then when we look at our life, we will see that yes, there's suffering today, but there is also happiness within that suffering. And so it's just a matter of being still, being quiet, and finding it, because what? It is there. So let's take these thoughts. Wait, one more thing. We have a quote from Mahatma Gandhi. I like this quote because it reminds us that sometimes we're dealing with people. You must not lose faith in humanity. Humanity is an ocean. If a few drops of the ocean are dirty, the ocean does not become dirty. Is that great? I love his stuff. Sometimes it's like, there's so much truth to that. You go to the ocean, you pick up one, you may get sand or seaweed or whatever, but that's not the whole ocean. And yet we have a tendency to think, I got hurt by this one person, some man, some woman, some person in my life, and now I'm going to shut my life out. I don't want, we see that in movies all the time, right? Well, I got hurt, and so now I'm going to shut myself off. Carolyn Mays talked about that. She said, the walking wounded. We have to stop being the walking wounded, okay? Just because you got hurt early in life doesn't mean you have to continue that hurt into the present. Why? Because God is the great designer and can create and design a new life for you. And many people who have been hurt early in childhood have managed to design new lives. So if somebody can do it, that means God is willing to do it in you too. The question is, are you willing to change your thinking to change your life? And with that, we're going to do today's affirmation, which is, I am of the divine being, and my true nature is divine. My true nature is divine. So let us turn within. And so we recognize right now that we are divine, that our nature is divinity, that we come from the divine, that we live as the divine, and we will return to the divine when our days on this earth are complete. There is no time, there's no space where God is not. And so therefore, right here, right now, right where we are, God is expressing as who and what we are. Regardless of the body that we're in, regardless of the life that we're living, regardless of our wealth or our lack of it, regardless of the status of our health, our joy, our peace, our wisdom, our understanding, all of that is God expressing as us. And as we change our thinking to allow this grace to explode in us, it does so in such a way that we live the lives that we truly are here to live. We live with the grace and the joy, the peace, the wisdom, and the understanding that is inherent in knowing who we are. We don't have to all be the same, because we cannot be the same. We absolutely cannot be the same, because God is designing something different with each and every one of us. However, we can communicate with one another because God has given us the ability to be in language and to speak, to communicate, to enjoy, and to love one another. And so as we open our hearts with compassion and with love, we are able to communicate one to the other as we individually live the lives that we choose to live in joy and peace and harmony and wisdom and creativity and all the goodness we can possibly desire for ourselves. But we also must remember to desire it for others as well. For this is not a religion of selfishness. It's a knowingness that as I am, so too are you. And so with gratitude and thanksgiving, I release this word, knowing that it is the truth that is unfolding in us and through us and as us right here, right now. And so it is. Amen.
So it is. So there I am.
There it is. Connie, will you turn that on for me?
Yeah, there's an arrow sign on there. What does it say? Yeah, and then hit the red button. Okay. Okay, well, good morning, everybody. I'm going to sing a song for you I wrote a few years ago. It's on my latest CD. It's called Sticks and Stones, and it's about changing your life. It's about going back down those well-worn paths that always lead to pain. Sticks and stones, they'll break your bones and they'll break your heart in two. The words people say can tear your innocence away, tear it all away. There's a well-worn path, it leads us to pain. Why do we choose that path again and again? I want to turn my steps around and find my way to higher ground. And that's why I pray, give me the courage to walk away from this pain. And that's why I pray, give me the courage to find a way, find a new way. All right, we're gonna kick it up a little bit. Those sticks and stones, the ones that I have thrown, well, they hurt me as much as you. My words come back tenfold, and the pain is back tenfold, comes back tenfold. Uncertain futures, they freeze us in place. So we just stay and accept the pain we must face. It's time to break those old fears down and let soul and spirit abound. And that's why I pray, Spirit, give me courage to walk away from pain. And that's why I pray, give me the courage to find my way, to find a new way. Yeah. So, instead of walking down that same old path that we know is gonna lead us to pain, we make a choice. It's all about choice and willingness. There's a well-worn path that leads us to pain. Why do we choose that path again and again? It's time to turn our steps around and find the way to higher ground. And that's why I pray, give me the courage to walk away from all pain. Oh, and that's why I pray, Spirit, show me the way, show me a new way, show me the way. That's why I pray, find a new way. That's why I pray, help me find my own way, find a new way. Thank you.
Yes, right. And she's so talented. See, that's how God expresses as her, through music. Okay, so here we go. And our special giving offering, our conscious giving affirmation. Say with me, freely I give with a feeling of abundance, knowing that my gift blesses others and myself as well. Thank you.
I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful for all that I am. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I'm so grateful. I am so blessed.
And so in this day of digital stuff, technology, I want to thank those of you who continue to give online and through our Breeze and other donation apps. So through the newsletter, you can donate through the newsletter too. So, and Marsha usually puts the links in the chat. So if you would like to donate that way, we're welcome and happy to have your donation. And thank you so very much. So our Thanksgiving affirmation is, I am grateful for the divine givingness circulating abundantly through my life, our community, and our world. And it really does go to the community because we use the donations to pay for the rent. We use it to do what else? Yeah, to do the newsletter. We have to pay for that. We have technology that we pay for. So we have a lot of different things that we use those funds for. And they go out around the world, blessing other people, not just ourselves. So once again, thank you so much. And so later this year, we're going to be welcoming new members, yada, yada, yada. So if you were thinking about joining us as a member, we have this little brochure here. And if you'll put in a note in the chat that you're interested in membership, Marsha will make sure that we get the information and send it to you so that you can join us as a member. We welcome you and we thank you for your interest in CSL West Georgia. And of course, spread the word about our church and our spiritual community because we're a great bunch of people. Today we're a little short because this is August and next Sunday is Labor Day weekend, right? Yeah. So people go out of town, people do stuff and whatever. So anyway, I am so thankful that there are some of you here today so that I don't have to just speak to a bunch of empty chairs. That is very helpful. Even though there's you out there, I cannot see you while I'm talking. So that makes a difference. But I look into the camera, hopefully you are seeing me. All right, and so September 10th was only a couple more weeks away. On a Saturday, we are having our very first family yard sale. And so those of you who are online can contribute money if you would like to that endeavor. Or if you know somebody in Georgia, call them up and tell them to show up at our yard sale. They can come by. We're going to have hot dogs and refreshments. They can get some water. It will be hot, no doubt. They can get some water if they don't want anything else, and they can visit with us. They can find out where we are and come, to the church sometime. And those of you who are local, you want to bring your things not on this week. You want to bring them on Friday the 9th. And someone will be here. What hours? Do we have hours yet? Between 11 a.m. and 4 p.m. on Friday, the 9th of September. You can bring everything, and we are going to, when you bring stuff, think in terms of how much it should be. And we'll have we're going to have some guidance. Let me put it that way. Deborah's not here today, but she's got it all well in hand. Lily, you were trying to say something? Yes, we do. Well, yeah, we do. Here it is. But we can fix this up to do it some other way, right? So we can, let's see, start looking around for gently used items no longer you want or need and donate to CSL. All right, so the way the yard sale works is you donate your stuff and you tell us like $2, $5, $1, whatever, what price you want to put on it. We sell it and the money comes to us. So instead of taking your things to Goodwill or to someplace else like that, I hate to tell the veterans they have to wait this time, but if you want to bring those things here and let us sell them, then we will use that as income for our church. So set them aside and bring them to the center on September 9th. All monies received from the sale are donations to CSL West Georgia. Okay. And I think that is all. But Billy, yeah, we have these. Yeah. And But I think we need to make something more because it doesn't have address, doesn't have time. It was basically for letting us know. So maybe we need to change that, the wording on that for next week so that people
Good
can
to
have
have a
a
sign up at the road too.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
We don't
Put
mind
signs.
public coming in, do we?
No, we want the public to come in. Yeah,
Oh, okay, great.
yeah, so we're putting
Okay.
signs out.
Yeah,
Okay,
all right.
all right. I think that's our service for today. Thank you so
Okay.
much, Cynthia and Connie, for our music. Thank you, Ken and Marcia, for our sound and technology. We really appreciate all that. And thank you, Lily, for your for reading so wonderfully. And Mike, thank you for your introduction. And thank you, Ronnie, for being here. Ronnie is here every Sunday. She opens up for us, and she is our greeter extraordinaire. So today she's looking for the guest book. Somebody absconded with it last week. So look in your stuff, in your bags and things, and see if maybe you took it accidentally. Because that's what happened one Sunday. Remember, Ken walked out with Cynthia's phone. Ken walked out with Cynthia's phone thinking it was his own. And Cynthia's running around here going like, where's my phone? Where's my phone?
He
Where's
did it
my
on
phone?"
purpose too.
I know it's here. I know it's here. And then a little while later, Ken calls up and says, I think I have somebody's phone. Yes, we've been looking for it. So, anyway, she got it back. All right.
And I keep an eye on my phone now.
Now she does. She knows where it is at all
I
times.
might add.
So I don't know, I just found out, I have an iPhone. I don't know if you guys have Siri, but do you know you can say, I can't say it too loud, Siri, where are you? And Siri comes back and says, I am here.
Oh, I didn't
That's
know
how you can
that.
find your phone. Yeah, I didn't know that either. Somebody told me
Remember my
that.
watch.
I know, I used to use my watch too, but I was looking for my phone one day and the watch wasn't working. And so somebody else who had an iPhone says, just say, Siri, where are you? And you know what? Siri found my phone. That's so great. I love it. All right. So that's a little piece of extra technology from the world
Thank
of the
you.
white brother. Okay. Let us do the peace song. Oh, no. Whoops. Sorry.
Nope.
You and I are both.
Oh, we're wrong.
We got to do the affirmation. Closing affirmation. Ready?
Yes.
Set, go. We go forth today, knowing that we are God's blessing in the world. Only good comes from us, and only good comes to us. That's what I get telling stories.
Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. Let there be peace on earth, the peace that was meant to be. With God as creator, united all are we. Let us walk with each other in perfect harmony. Let peace begin with me. Let this be the moment now. With every step I take, let this be my solemn vow. To take each moment, live each moment in peace eternally. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me.
Yes, very good.